Hi, everybody. I'm Alyce-Kay Reckelhouse from Threshold of Hanani and the Widow Reckelhouse. And a little while ago, I talked to you about why Catholics pray to saints and to Mary. And if you didn't see that one, then and you're Protestant, then you probably should see that first. So look in the description box below. I have a link to that because if you don't understand that, then this is not going to make any sense to you at all. But I thought that it would be fun to share with you just a little bit about my experience of praying to saints. And four of the saints that I've prayed to, I've told you before, I think a few times about Saint Maria Goretti, so I'm not going to talk about her. I'll try to see if I can find one of the videos where I talk about that and put it at the end as one of the things that you can click on. But anyway, so I'm going to talk about four different saints today, and those are Saint Matthew the Apostle, Saint Lucy, Saint Jose Maria Escriva, and Therese of Lesu. And actually, let's move Therese to third because that way I can just kind of do them in date order. They're not really in order of who's my favorite or anything. I think Saint Maria Goretti is definitely my favorite, but and I have a few other saints that I absolutely love, but I just thought that these four would be interesting personal stories to tell you. I'm just going to tell you a little bit about them, but mainly I'm going to tell you about how they have been involved in God answering my prayers. So first of all, St. Matthew the Apostle. Let me share my screen because I think it'd just be more fun if you could see a picture of these people as I talk about them. Okay, that's St. Therese. Let's get St. Matthew. Here we go. So here's St. Matthew the Apostle. We don't really know what he looks like, obviously, but this is somebody's idea of what he looked like. And the reason that I started praying particularly to him was because last November, my job with VIP Kid teaching students in China English ended because the Ministry of Education there didn't want us to continue doing that. And so, which is so sad for me because I really, really loved it. But my brother had been encouraging me to try to start working towards just writing full time. And so I thought, well, this is a good time to do it. I had been kind of preparing for that. They did give us a couple of months notice ahead of time, and that I had also been working towards that before then. So I decided, okay, this is the time to just kind of try it. And if it doesn't work out, then I can always work for somebody else for a while again and then try again. I may need to have a lot more books before I can really make a living from it. So I was talking to my priest about it, Father John, and I think I asked him like, what saint would be good to pray to about this? And he said, well, Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John, because they're bestsellers, right? And it was like, wow, yeah, I hadn't thought of that. So that's pretty cool. So I was kind of trying to decide who to pray to. I think I prayed to all four of them, but I was a little bit more focused on Matthew because he was the first, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. So it was like, let's go through them. The interesting thing, besides, he really, when I was praying to him and asking him to pray for me and to get me help, and again, like I said in my last video, I don't really understand if the saints actually help us or if they just pray to us and so God helps us through their prayers. But that was probably the smoothest book I had ever written, as far as like just being able to just work through and write it when I first started praying to him. And then the other thing that was so cool that I hadn't expected at all was that I just started having ideas of big ways to save money, like over the course of quite a few months. And those things I realized as those ideas came to me, and I think the realization was part of the answer to prayer, was that it was just like making money. Being able to save a large amount of money was just like making that money, except that I didn't have to pay taxes on it because you're paying taxes on what you earn, not what you don't spend. and then that occurred to me, oh yeah, Matthew was a tax collector, right? So that totally made sense. So I made him kind of my patron of my writing and my finances and business, whatever you want to call it, all that stuff. I don't really like to think that I'm in business, but I know I am, but I just don't really like to think of it that way. So anyway, I put him in charge of all that. And so that's been really cool. He's really helped me with that and given me a lot of ideas and stuff. So then oh, this thing keeps coming up about what's going on with Zoom, and I can't get through to, here we go, to pick which browsers I want to show. Okay, so then St. Lucy. So St. Matthew, of course, you know, was one of Jesus' disciples. So he's from way back. The other thing, actually, let me go back to Matthew for a minute. The other thing about Matthew that's kind of cool, but, you know, not really based on fact, is if you've been watching The Chosen, then you know that they portray Matthew as having Asperger's, which is on the autism spectrum. And I just could really, really relate to their character of Matthew. Now, they're not saying that St. Matthew, the apostle, had Asperger's, but they're just saying, hey, it's kind of a possibility. And if you read about Matthew, you read the gospel, yeah, you can kind of see how that could be a possibility. Maybe not, but maybe. And they definitely didn't have any diagnosis for that or anything. So if you did, nobody would have, you know, known that or anything. But it was one of the things that actually helped me to find out that I have autism. And so I didn't pray to him about that, but I kind of credit St. Matthew somewhat with that, because I think that he was kind of leading me through his character on The Chosen to figure that out. So for what that's worth. St. Lucy. So St. Lucy was from the 3rd century, and she was one of the early martyrs. Part of the way that they tortured her before they killed her was they gouged out her eyes. And so that's why she's shown, I don't know if you can see here, she's shown with a platter holding 2 eyeballs. So I found out about her because I was having huge trouble with my vision. I had started having double vision, apparently from spending so much time on my computer and not focusing elsewhere. So like now I'm really good about every 20 minutes focusing on something 20 feet away for 20 seconds because I have learned the importance of that. But anyway, so for a while I was having double vision, which it's really, really hard. Like try kind of like crossing your eyes a little bit so that you can see things 2 times, like it's double, and try walking around. It's really, really hard. Okay, I could not drive. There was no way I could drive that way. I got a patch to put over my eye. That was the only way that I could possibly drive. And it was really, really difficult and also very, very scary. And the things that I read about it were even more scary. And so I asked Father, yeah, who would I pray to for my vision? And he said to check out St. Lucy. So I read about her and I started asking her to pray for me and got ideas from the things I was reading about double vision. There weren't any suggestions of these things that I'm about to say, but those things gave me the ideas. And I really don't think that I would have just had those ideas on my own. I think that her prayers helped to bring that about. But I came up with exercises based on those things that cause or happen with double vision, and I did those exercises and was able to correct my eyes pretty quickly. And so that's really cool. That's been just amazing to me. And I've, you know, I'm continuing to do things to make sure I don't get double vision again. Okay, so then another saint who I really, really love is Saint Therese of Lesu. And she's one of the most popular saints of the church. I think that I've heard Saint Francis is the most popular and Saint Therese is the next most popular. And the reason she's so popular, and if you know me at all, you know, I don't like to go for the popular ones. Just the fact that she's popular makes me not want to make her one of my favorites. But I can't help it. She has a good reason for being popular. The reason that she's so popular is because she made Christianity and growing closer to Christ so simple. She died when she was 24 years old. She loved Jesus from the time that she was just a small child and wanted to be a nun. And just a really powerful prayer for one thing, but also there was so little that she physically could do at some points in her life and everything. And one thing that I read, or no, actually, I think I heard Father Chris talk about this, and I'm going to put his video about Saint Therese below because it is an excellent video if you're interested in learning about her at all. She's just an amazing person. But she said that if you just pick up a pin, and she was saying a sewing pin, if you just pick up a pin from the floor and put it away as an act of worship, put it away out of your love of God and the fact that He created an organized universe. And so I want my little corner of His universe to be organized and to glorify Him. That if you do that, that's an act of worship, just that little tiny thing. And it really changed the way that I looked at things. In a way, I had already kind of understood that before. And I think I'd even talked about it before, how every little thing that we can do can be an act of worship to God. But just the way that she said it just got into my heart a lot more than I had ever thought of. And it made me more aware. So like everything that you do isn't an act of God. It's everything that you do out of love for God. And so one of her sayings was, do small things with great love. And that quote, I think, is actually often attributed to Mother Teresa. But St. Therese came before Mother Teresa. Mother Teresa was actually quoting her. But do small things with great love. I really, really like that. And it just, right now, at this point in my life, with some of the health challenges that I've had, there's a lot that I can't do. And she's made me focus more on what I can do, even though it seems so small and so insignificant. It helps me to understand it's not small and insignificant at all. It's huge. And I hope that inspires somebody else too. So it's not so much, I haven't prayed to her a lot. It's more that I've learned from her life. So, but I have prayed to her some. Okay, so then the other one, this is more recent. Saint Jose Maria Escriva. He's the founder of Opus Dei, and I really don't know all that much about his life. I haven't read that much about him yet. He was a 20th century priest, and like I said, the founder of Opus Dei. But the reason that he came to my attention was because I was diagnosed with diabetes about 3 months ago. And so I've learned from my experience with these saints that I've told you about and some others, it never hurts to have somebody praying for you in heaven. And so I immediately like went online and I was like, okay, who's the patron saint of diabetics? And that was Saint Jose Maria. And I think that he had diabetes type 1. I'm not sure. That doesn't matter. He would have that interest in diabetes. And so I've prayed to him for help, and as a result, I want to be careful how I say this because I don't want to be giving like any medical advice or anything like that. So I'm not going to tell you what I did. But as a result, I was led to some videos by a doctor who is really, really into reversing diabetes without medications. And so I've been following his program. And when I went to see my PA last week, which was 3 months after I had been diagnosed with diabetes. When I was diagnosed, I had an A1C, hemoglobin A1C of 10.4. If you know anything at all about diabetes, you know that's really, really, really bad. I mean, dangerously, horribly bad. And when I had my labs the week before last, my hemoglobin A1C, which is like a 3-month picture or 3 to 6 month picture of your glucose in your blood, it was 7.0. So that still is higher than what it should be. I think it should be like up to 5.6. So I'm aiming more for like 5. And I don't know if you go below 5, if that's okay or not. I'm not really sure. So so I still have a ways to go, but in 3 months, that was just incredible. And my PA burst into the room and he was so excited. And he said, he had never seen anybody make so much progress in improving their diabetes in such a short amount of time, even with medication. And, I was able to do this without medication. And I really see that, as obviously not just me doing that, but God. And I credit, Father Jose Maria Escriva for praying for me for that. That's just, he's a great prayer warrior for that. So the reason I'm sharing this with you all is just that you can see some examples of things that the saints can pray for us for, and kind of the way that they might answer you in that. You know, it's not, like I said in my previous video, I'm a new Catholic, so I'm not really sure how this works. I know we don't worship them. Okay, that's really, really important. We do not worship the saints. When we say we pray to them, it means we're asking them. We're asking them to pray for us. We might be asking them to help us too. I'm not quite sure, but I always ask them to pray for me because I really value prayers. I value your prayers, but you know what? How much more should I value the prayers of somebody who's actually in the presence of God and they're in heaven? So I know that they're righteous. And James said that the effectual fervent prayer of a righteous man avails much. So I'm praying to the people who are close to God and are very righteous, as well as asking my friends here on earth to pray for me. So anyway, asking them to pray for me has definitely brought about results. And there are some others that I could share with you too, but these right now are kind of some of my favorites. And so I'll try to remember to share with you in the future about some of the other saints that I've asked for help and how that has worked out. All right, I love you all. I will talk to you later. Bye-bye.